Hello fellow YouTubers, here is my video about my story about buying a phone on AliExpress and the nightmare that ensued. This is a cautionary tale. So in this video I'm going to cover a couple of different areas, and it will basically follow in the following order. First, I will give a little bit of a background so that you can understand the present story and how we got here. I will talk about buying the phone on AliExpress. I will talk about the discovery process and how I discovered it was not the phone I was led to believe it was. Then I will talk about the attempt to return and the resistance and outright hostility that I got from the seller. And I'm also going to talk about the process of the dispute on AliExpress and how I think it is flawed, and I will provide you with some considerations at the end, some lessons learned. So on my slides I have the wording over here, and then that's just to remind me the order that I'm going to talk about things. Now, many years ago, I heard about a phone that had dual screens, and it was called the Yotaphone 2. Later, I learned that there was actually a Yotaphone 1, but I didn't hear about, I don't know, somehow that slipped under my radar. So when I read more and heard more about the Yotaphone 2, I really wanted to buy it, but it was kind of expensive, so I thought it would be a luxury, and I didn't buy it right away. But fast forward a little bit, and one day I was window shopping in the Dubai Mall, and I came across the discount bin at this store called Plugins. Now, Plugins is no longer there. It's been replaced by Kinokuniya, the bookstore. And I don't know what happened to Plugins. I really like Plugins, but now they're part of the Ace Hardware store, so you can buy stuff there. But Plugins was my favorite store, and I just really liked it. And one day when I was there, they had a discount bin, and in the discount bin was the Yotaphone 2. And I couldn't believe it, because here was this phone that I had read so much about that I really wanted to try, and not only that, it was discounted. So I bought it right away, and I used this phone a lot. Anybody who knows about the Yotaphone will know that it's an awesome phone. The Yotaphone 2, in my opinion, it is the best phone that was ever released ever. And the reason why is because, well, I don't know about you, but the LCD screens hurt my eyes. And I can look at them, but if I have a choice, I don't want to. So I like having an e-ink screen. So I have the Kindle, I have Kindle Paperwhite, I have Kindle DX, and I have an Onyx Max 2 Pro, and I love e-ink. It's my favorite. And the Yotaphone 2 has an e-ink screen on the back. So it's really cool. You can use this device, and if you just use the e-ink screen, you don't have to charge your battery for like 2 or 3 days, and you never have to turn on the LCD screen unless you really have to. And you can just look at the e-ink screen, and it gives you all of your notifications, so you don't have to pick up your phone, especially if you're in a meeting. Basically, the Yotaphone is great because of special Yota apps that come in the phone, and they allow you to use the back screen, the e-ink screen, in wonderful ways. And actually, there are a number of places online where those of us who love the Yotaphones, we will go online and chat about the different features and how cool the Yotaphone is. There's one of the forums that's on, I think, Google+, and we have to find a new place for it because Google+ is going to shut down or something like that. So we have to find a new place to talk about it. So while I was traveling in Southeast Asia, I dropped the phone, and I was really upset with myself. This is the first time that I had ever dropped a phone. And I've never dropped any of my gadgets before that, or since that time, or after that time. I was actually riding in a jeepney, and I was getting out of the jeepney. I had new shorts, so I didn't really know the pockets very well. And when I was getting out, I put the phone in my pocket. And as I was getting out, there was, I can't remember if it was a woman, an older woman, or if it was a woman with a child or something. And they had a stroller, an umbrella or something, and they were having trouble getting out. So I went to help them, and my phone dropped on the ground very briefly. So I picked it up, put it in my pocket, and I didn't think anything about it. But then later, I went to use it, and I discovered that the LCD screen was broken. As I said, I was really sad about this. For a few moments, it was like time stood still, and I couldn't believe that the LCD screen was not working. I thought, maybe the battery went dead or something. Like, how could it be just from a little drop? I mean, I had the bumper on it, and so, I don't know. Anyway, I really treat my phones and my gadgets very carefully. So I was very sad that, my Yotaphone 2, which I had had for many years, it seemed that it wasn't going to work. It wasn't working. One of the good things about the Yotaphone was that it was only the LCD screen that was broken on the Yotaphone 2. The e-ink screen was still working, and so I was still able to access my programs and my data and my information, and that was great because, I mean, imagine if you drop your phone and you're traveling and you lose access to all your stuff. I mean, that would be really frustrating and very difficult, right? And so having at least the e-ink screen, it was a little hard to work with, but I mean, it was better than, having a blank phone altogether. And I should say that I usually travel with two phones. So I will have one phone that is my UAE phone, and then I will have my travel phone. So I use the Yotaphone 2 as my travel phone. So I still had my other phone, and I was able to transfer some of the data over and just continue to use that while I was abroad. And when I got home, I went around to the different kiosks in the malls, and I asked them, could you replace this LCD screen? But I quickly learned that this was not going to be a possibility, mainly because the Yotaphone 2 is such a unique phone, and they don't make it anymore. And so nobody had this LCD screen. They didn't know where to get it. And it looked like I was pretty much out of luck, that I was not going to be able to fix this phone. And, I was still keeping it around because the e-ink screen was working, and I just couldn't bring myself to, throwing it away or recycling it or whatever. Fast forward to sometime later, and I was on a trip to Taipei, and I was talking about, I had this Brit phone that I bought as my travel phone. It was very cheap at Carrefour, and it really wasn't working very well. And so I mentioned to my friend, I'm like, he's like, you seem to be having trouble with your phone. I'm like, yeah, I used to use this Yotaphone 2, but I broke it, and so I got this cheaper phone. I don't really like it, but, I'm using it. And my friend said, oh, the Yotaphone 2 you might be able to buy that here in Taipei. So I was like, okay, well, how do I do that? He's like, all right, let me just go online. And he was able to use his knowledge of, Chinese websites to find this seller who had the Yotaphone 2. And not only that, they were starting to advertise something called Yotaphone 3, but I didn't know about that. Anyway, because I was only there for another day, it turns out that it wasn't going to reach me in time because the person, I think what I remember is that they were going to have to order it from mainland China, and it was going to come over, or Hong Kong or something. And so I had to be there for like 3 days in order for it to reach there, but I was only going to be there for a day and a half or 2 days at that point. So I was sad, because I figured I wasn't going to be able to get it. So after I got home, I started to dig online using the websites that my friend had sent me and using the auto translate option. And that's when I found out about AliExpress. And I had heard of it before, but I didn't really know about it. And then when I went on there, I was able to find out, and I was looking on other websites as well, but it seemed that the Yotaphone, so I was thinking I'll buy a new Yotaphone, and I thought I was just going to get a Yotaphone 2, but then there was something called Yotaphone 3, but this one was not the Russian version, it was like Chinese version. So I thought, oh, well, my Chinese is not very good, and I kind of need the Google apps. So probably, maybe I can't buy this. But I was also reading some information that there might be an international version of this phone that would have English and could use Google. So to my surprise, I found this, what I considered to be the international version. I mean, I had read on some websites that an international version was becoming available. And so I searched online, and I saw this ad, smartphones, AliExpress.com. And here it is, it's being advertised in English, and it says it can use the Google Play Store, and it was on sale. So I was like, wow, this is my dream come true, because I love the Yoda phone, and mine broke. And so now I can get the new one, and it's going to be bigger and better and awesome, and this is going to be my new phone. I'm going to use this all the time, and it's on sale. Now you have to understand that I had been waiting for a long time in considering the possibility of getting another Yoda phone. So when I found this, I have to really impress upon you the joy that I had as a result of seeing that this brand that I love, the Yoda phone, the cool phone, was now available. And so I ordered every accessory I could find because I ordered the Yoda Phone 3, and so I got a metal bumper. I didn't realize, but later when it came with a silicone bumper already installed on it. I ordered double screen protectors because I wanted to make sure that I had the right ones that would fit, and I wanted to have a backup. And I bought this carrying pouch, special carrying pouch that it has Velcro, but you can put it around your belt, and it has really good, it's very sturdy, and it would hold it, keep it safe. So, because I wanted to care for this phone as best as I could, and I wanted to make sure that what happened to my Yoda Phone 2, which was a total aberration, I had never done that. I wanted to make sure that this new phone, that I treated it, in a super careful way. So the thing about AliExpress, you can get, first of all, I couldn't get it anywhere else. This is the only place I had ever seen it. So I had to order it from AliExpress, which was it was expensive for me. So, I had to really question it. But since I loved Yoda Phone, I figured, okay, I'm just going to get it. And the thing with AliExpress is you do get the price. You can find things and the price is good, but you have to agree to wait for whatever the product is. It takes a little while for it to arrive. And that's not a bad thing. I ended up ordering so many things on AliExpress after I ordered the Yoda Phone 3, you can't imagine. I've ordered so many things that normally I probably would have ordered on Amazon or Souq, but they were actually much cheaper on AliExpress, even with the shipping. So as long as you're willing to wait, it was fine. So when the Yoda Phone 3 came, I actually made an unboxing video. And I didn't really, I didn't think I would have a YouTube channel or anything, but I thought, my love for the Yoda phone is so great that I want to show everybody about this phone, and I want to encourage people to consider it. And so when I got it, I took the phone in the special pouch to the mall kiosk, and I asked them to install the screen protectors. I didn't want to do it myself because I thought I might mess it up. And these kiosk people in Ibn Battuta, they know me because I buy my top-up cards there. And I say that they know me because if you would have been there, I think they thought I was crazy because I didn't want to hand the phone over. I had it in the original box. I did not want to hand it over to the person because I was worried they would mess it up, that they would not put the protectors on correctly, that they would make some kind of mistake. Now, they had never made mistakes before, so, that was kind of wrong of me to think that. But it's all to say that I was just being extra careful with this phone. And the woman at the kiosk, if I interviewed her and used a video, I know that she would confirm this because I know them. I've known them for 5 years, and over 5 years. And they know how, weird I was being about this phone. I wanted this phone to be dealt with very gently and to make sure nothing would happen to this phone. I love this phone. As I got it back and I started to, I had the screen protectors on it, I had the bumper on it, I was carrying it in the pouch, and whenever I would use it, I would put down a microfiber cloth, and I was entering in a lot of the apps, and then I started to notice some things about this phone that weren't quite right. And I have other YouTube videos where I talked about this. And once I made this realization, and I started to confirm it, this is where my nightmare began. And I made this video so that you can avoid this at all costs, if at all possible. Now, first I want to run a disclaimer, and I want to say maybe I was just an unlucky person here. I did see one other reviewer. This was after I had already ordered it and got it. There was a reviewer who had put 1 star for this seller, and they had also come to this realization that the Yotaphone 3 was not the phone that they thought it was. And I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. And it's, you know, you kind of have to understand Yotaphones to get this. And for those of you who are watching who are Yotaphone fans, you will totally understand this. But I just want to make sure to say that this is my experience, and it may not be your experience. And I say that because it's quite possible that this is an anomaly, and that for some reason I was just unlucky. But, you know, it's a cautionary tale. But anyway, I give you this disclaimer just, you know, to make that point. So what I realized was, and I looked online and I read online about this, and it turns out that this phone was actually the Chinese version, and it very had likely been flashed in an attempt to run the English language and Google Play. But it was still filled with the Chinese bloatware, and the most important thing was it could not run the special and unique Yoda apps that are the very reason why somebody might buy this phone. So, you know, the great thing about a Yotaphone is you can keep it with the LCD screen down and the e-ink screen up. You are then able to get all of your notifications on the e-ink screen without having to turn the LCD screen on. So it's really the number one reason why somebody would want a Yotaphone. They would want a Yotaphone not just because there's an e-ink screen, but it could run the special Yoda apps, which would allow you to get your notifications on the e-ink screen. So you don't have to turn on the LCD screen. It saves battery. It's really good in meetings because you can see if somebody is messaging you and you don't have to turn on your screen. And this would be like the main reason why people might buy a Yotaphone. And this Yotaphone 3 that I had purchased could not do that. I suppose it could do it if it was in its original Chinese, but the newer version that they had flashed with this English and some Google could not do it. And by marketing this with English words and saying that it could run Google Play, it confuses it with a different model, which this phone was not. And so part of my argument is this phone should not be marketed with English because it fools people to think that it's an international version when it's not. So once I realized that, and then I had seen the other review where the person was a little upset, you know, that they had found this out as well, then I said, you know what, I better return it because as much as I love the Yotaphone, I need it to function with the Yoda apps. I mean, I need it to function the way that a Yotaphone works. And I figured, you know, it looks like this can't be updated. It's not running all of the Google Play apps. Like I have this one widget where you can put different world clocks. That app wasn't working. The widget wasn't working. Then other widgets weren't working. And I was kind of frustrated with it. And I said, well, look, I've only had it for a week, so I'll just ask to return it. Maybe I can get the other version of the phone or, you know, something. But at the very least, this was a lot of money that I spent on this, and I want to make it right. I want to get the right phone. This one is not working. It's not functioning the way that a Yotaphone should function. But when I sent the messages about this and tried to explain this to the seller, the only message I got was no refund, no return. And that was it. But this is where AliExpress comes in because, they are the middleman, they're the company between. And they said, after reading what I had written down, they were like, okay, just, just return it and, we'll go from there. Now, I had to pay to return, pay for the bubble wrap and the packaging. I even bought a marker so I could, mark very clearly. And I paid $35 to return it. And I thought, well, it's $35. I'll just chalk this up to bad experience. And anyway, I'll get the rest of the money back, so I'm not out too much. Now, I want to pause for a moment here and just tell you that I am coming at this from a certain standpoint. And that standpoint is my experience as a customer over many years. And anyone who has been in business or, looks into it, you always hear this phrase, the customer is always right. And when the customer is wrong, just remember the customer is always right, right? And service with a smile. So that's how I imagine that things should always be. Now, there are times when I will be at a store or I'll be somewhere and I think that the customer is out of line, that they're not behaving in a way that's very nice. And certainly they should never, sort of go off the rails in terms of, wanting a refund or wanting service or something. So, in that case, I could understand where that might not be a good thing. But as a general rule of thumb, as a business, you operate from the principle that, a satisfied customer is going to be a happy customer, will be a repeat customer. And that's sort of, where I come from. Just as an aside, this is a recent example. I went to eat at this restaurant. It's a Greek restaurant. And I ordered my food and I was busy reading on my Hisense A2 Pro. Yes, because the Yotaphone 3 was not working, since that time I learned that there was another company that made a dual screen phone, the Hisense. So I bought the Hisense A2 Pro from the Sando store on AliExpress, and they were very good. Anyway, so I was reading on my Hisense A2 Pro, which works fine. It's very nice. And after 45 minutes, the manager of the restaurant came over and he said, I'm sorry, sir, but your food has been delayed. We had an issue with the order. The chef didn't think it tasted very good. He sent it back and he's making another one. I said, hey, not a big deal. I'm glad that the chef, is on top of it. I hadn't really noticed. I'm not in a hurry. Not a big deal. So he said, what can I do to make it up to you? This is the manager, saying to me. And I said, nothing. It's, it's fine. Forget about it. Just, get the food when you can, and that'll be great. So the food comes after I finish. A big plate of the dessert sampler is served to me, and the waiter says, this is compliments of the manager. We're sorry that you had to wait for your food. And it wasn't even a big deal to me, but I say this now because guess what my new favorite restaurant is, and guess where I go every time I get a chance? Because I go there. Because they know how to treat the customer. The customer is right. And if you treat the customer right, you'll have repeat business and you'll have many new customers. It's just a basic rule of business. Everyone knows this. So after I packaged up the phone and I sent it back, I get a message on my AliExpress. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get the message, okay, the seller got the phone back. We're sorry about that. Refund the money, and thank you very much. Instead, I get a message from the seller that I have damaged the phone and I must pay $100 US. Now, folks, I want you to focus on that image for just a moment, right here. $100 US. Think about that for a minute. Think about how much $100 is, okay? And then think about that I had already spent $35 plus, the packaging and stuff to send it back. So you could imagine if you put yourself in my shoes and you're thinking, wow, I treated this phone that I waited so long to get, that I couldn't believe was available, that I love, and they tell me that I've damaged the phone, that it has scratches on it. No way, no way. No scratches. Protectors on it right out of the box. Bumpers on it right out of the box. In a pouch out of the box. On a microfiber. Every time I touched it. No damage. None. Absolutely none. $135 for this? So, naturally, I'm upset about this. I mean, wouldn't you be upset? I was. So it turns out, I found out the seller has a YouTube channel, and in some of the comments, I think the original one was on the Yoda Phone 3, I posted aspects of my story to warn others. It is my story. It is what happened to me. It's my perspective. I ran the disclaimer, and I said, you as a viewer are free to decide. I'm not telling you what to do or what to think. I'm offering my story. You can decide. In response, on the YouTube channel, the seller posted profanities aimed at me. Profanities, obscene language. I am not kidding you. I am not kidding you. Even as I say it, I still can't believe it. And I told AliExpress in a chat with them about this with the screenshot. It was unthinkable and unbelievable. Here I was. I got a phone that shouldn't have been marketed the way it was marketed. So I returned it. And in response, I'm told that I'm going to have to pay $135. And in response, the seller issues profanities at me. Now, at that point, I just wanted to say, forget this. Who wants to be involved in this kind of, this is just negative energy. It's bad. I don't want this. But the AliExpress procedure for returns is not an easy one. They request evidence from both parties, and then ostensibly they're supposed to make a decision. So I uploaded photos and videos of the phone and its packaging. I did the unboxing video, which I had actually posted on YouTube. And also, before I sent it back, I did another video showing how I kept it in excellent condition and how I sent it back in excellent condition. The seller then responded. They didn't upload any direct evidence of the phone, but instead they uploaded screenshots of the comments that I had put on YouTube videos in order to say that, this was a bad thing I was doing. Really? This was me telling my story, which up until that point, and still, flabbergasts me. Now, continuing, because it goes back and forth, you can upload evidence, the seller can upload evidence. The seller claimed that I was buying items on AliExpress so that I could review them on my channel and then return them for refunds. Here is the fact. At AliExpress, you are welcome to confirm this and put this information out publicly. I have never, ever returned any item on AliExpress, ever. Even the accessories for the Yoda Phone 3, which, by the way, I can no longer use, I still have them, and I can't use them. The only thing I returned was the Yoda Phone 3 phone, which was not what I expected. Now, I have to tell you that for me and in my family, we do not use profanities or this kind of language. I understand some people use it. My general feeling on that is that people that resort to it are people to be avoided. And I don't want to communicate with people like that. It's just not worth it. And actually, in the country and culture where I live now, if you did this in person to someone, you could be jailed. And I've even heard of worse cases where the person takes great umbrage, great offense to this, and it can lead to far worse things. Now, I live in this culture, and I respect this culture, and I would never, ever do that. And in fact, the sellers' names can go on a list, and they are banned from traveling to the UAE or Dubai, because this is, I don't know quite how to explain it, but you can't do it online either. And if you live in this country, you have to account for that. You are held responsible for that. Now, I'm not sure how the government of China looks at this. My guess is that they also don't like profane language being used online, but I don't know if they have actual laws about it. But we do here in Dubai and the UAE. So this person can, if they come here, they can be held to account as a result of this. Forget the product, forget the money, forget the business, forget everything. This is a matter of civility, and it is a personal affront to me. And this person, this seller, has not apologized for this. So this is unacceptable. And after this, I told AliExpress in a chat and in messages that I'm no longer comfortable dealing with this seller. And I asked them, please make a decision, enforce the decision, and end this now, because this is abusive behavior. The seller also tried to contact me other ways. No thank you. When you insult me and my family, you no longer have the right to contact me under any circumstances whatsoever. And you should be going out of your way to rectify and correct this situation. The fact that it continues is amazing, and also, by the way, appalling. So the back and forth continues. The abuse continues. AliExpress suggests a ruling in my favor, but it doesn't, and it continues. This time the seller uploads fake photos suggesting that I had damaged the phone box. Now, this is almost 2 months after the fact, that a month and a half after I've sent it back, and during Chinese New Year, by the way. And so in response, I upload photos of boxes that I have kept for all of I keep the boxes for all of my gadgets. I keep them in excellent condition. I have some boxes going back 15 years that are in pristine condition. So I ask you, dear viewer, is it reasonable to assume that a phone I waited for so long, that I loved when it arrived, is it reasonable to assume that I would have in any way damaged it? And why would I send back a phone that I waited so long for in the first place? The answer is because it wasn't the phone that I thought it was. The Yotaphone 3 Plus, it turns out, is the international version, and the Yotaphone 3 is not. It is a flash Chinese version. But even if you have to also think about all the accessories that I bought. Is it reasonable to think that I mistreated it in any way? That I damaged a box? How could I damage a box that I had for 1 week for a phone that I waited for so long that I loved? And yet I have boxes for my phones going back 5, 10, and for gadgets 15 years, and they're the boxes are in perfect condition. Is it reasonable to think that somehow in 1 week, this was some major anomaly, that I would somehow damage a box? And by the way, I took photos and videos before I sent it back. Those clearly show that the box and the phone are in original perfect condition. So here we are. Since the time I ordered the phone, through the return until now, it has been 4 months. I have gone back and forth with AliExpress. I've gone back. The seller keeps posting things. I do not want to talk to them. I do not want to even acknowledge what they've written. They lost that opportunity when they attacked me with profanities. And the seller continues to demand money. They always want money, more money, for a phone that was not what it was advertised as and which has been returned. And the other thing is, they're selling that phone for $420 US. I bought it on sale for $340. So they're saying, oh, we have to sell it at a discount. We're going to lose money. No, that's not true. They're not going. You think they're going to lose money? They're not going to lose money. They can easily break even or make money on that phone. So this seller has used bad language to me and refuses to do the right thing by simply, at long last, doing the right thing, which is simply refunding the money. And AliExpress has not stopped this madness, which they could simply by making a fair judgment and enforcing it. And despite repeated attempts to communicate with them, they continue to allow the abuse to continue. I still have to be engaged in some kind of a dialogue or discussion with a seller that I absolutely, positively can no longer talk with, discuss anything with, and I think you can understand and see my point at this point. Now let's think about AliExpress and their guarantees to their customers. They say, if you have a dispute and it makes sense, that you can get your money back, right? And I've already said this seller can easily make their money back on this phone. And they might even still be able to make a profit off of it. I mean, because they sold it at a discount for me in the first place. So, and then later they were selling it for $100 more. So that doesn't make any sense. Why am I, the customer, paying for nothing? I don't have a product, I don't have a service. And from AliExpress's standpoint, do you think that that amount of money is even a blip on their radar? Absolutely not. Now, I don't even understand why AliExpress, after having seen this information, why the seller is still allowed to sell. That boggles my mind. But okay, let's just say that I'm some anomaly, which, by the way, I don't think I am, because other people have been mentioning to me that they've had similar experiences with this seller. And I have not taken that information public, although maybe it needs to come out. But just for argument's sake, forget about the product and forget about the evidence. You don't even have to see that. Because the question is it okay to direct profane curses at a customer simply because they wanted to return a product? So, finally, dear viewers, what is the lesson in all of this? If there is one, and if I can pass it along to you. First, my advice is not to buy from this seller. Now again, maybe you will buy and maybe it will be fine. That's the disclaimer that I run. But I want you to think about this story first. Now the seller will tell you that I'm hurting their business. But let me tell you something. They did that to themselves. Businesses learn the most from the customers who experience issues and they go out of their way to fix things. Those customers are great customers because they help to highlight the issues that the business should be thinking about in the first place. Secondly, I would say if you're going to buy stuff on AliExpress, and I now apply this principle, and that is don't order anything that costs too much money or an amount of money that you're willing to lose. So for example, this phone was $345 for me. And that was a lot of money. And it's just so much money I can't even think about it. I can't lose that amount of money. And I don't know what's going to happen to that. But now I'm only going to order things that are like $40 or $50 so that if everything goes south, this is the amount of money that I would be prepared to lose. And the other thing, finally, you might consider a different platform. Now, this is the thing that, I use Souq and Amazon, and I found that on a lot of things, they can be a little bit more expensive. But in the rare instance that you have to return something, it's very easy, it's very smooth, and you always get your money back. Now, I've only had to do that once or twice on those platforms, but it has been very smooth and very easy. This is the first time that I've ever had to return something on AliExpress, and I had so much trouble, as you can tell from this video. So that's it. That's all I have to say. And it's my story. It is my truth. It is my vantage point. It's where I'm at. And my greatest hope is that AliExpress will finally do what they have been promising to do, which is to make a fair decision and to enforce it on both parties. It still keeps dragging on and on, but my hope is that they will make a decision. I cannot, I will not, I won't, I refuse to talk to this seller, and you can understand why after watching this video. And you can make a decision for yourself if you want to go through this if something goes wrong. Now, again, viewers, it might not go wrong, it might be fine. I'm sure there are cases of that, probably the majority. But what about the instances where something does go wrong or it's not right? And you have to then weigh the case here against that. Is this the kind of business and seller that you wish to support? And your answer to that question will let you know what you need to do. Thanks for watching.